There's always been one thing that's always really bothered me about Cars 3, and that is definitely the ending. I just never liked how Cruz Ramirez steps in racing for McQueen at the Florida 500 race, the finale of the entire franchise pretty much, for the time being at least, and wins the race against Jackson Storm with little to no struggle. It doesn't work. I think it's just that the fact that McQueen doesn't win, it just takes away all the momentum that the movie was building up to be like this big comeback story for McQueen. And in the end, we don't even get that. It's just like him passing the torch off to Cruz. And, on paper, maybe it worked. Maybe it was like a nice way to, pass the torch off to a new generation of racers. It's kind of a nice story, but it just doesn't work in movie form. I don't know, at least for me. Maybe it's just because I find Cruz Ramirez very annoying. I don't know if that's just me. I know a lot of people like her as a character. I just think she doesn't really respect McQueen like everyone thinks she does. Like, I know she's bringing him down and everything to really build him up, but I don't know if it does. I don't think her methods of training really work on McQueen. But whatever, that is the ending we got. And overall, it's an okay ending to the film, but I don't think it's the best ending. And the part that's really sad about it is that Pixar was actually planning to make McQueen win the final race in the ending of Cars 3, but then they scrapped that idea and made, the ending that we all know, Cruz Ramirez winning the race, because they thought that's too easy, that's the easy way out. They didn't want to do that, but I think it would have made for a much better film. But anyways, welcome on back to the Cars Garage, everyone. I know I've been talking about the ending of Cars 3, and you may be wondering why. Well, because I have a car brand new factory custom diecast right here today that resembles what McQueen would have looked like if he had won the final race in the ending of Cars 3 and, still had his fabulous Hudson Hornet paint job like he does Don in the end of the movie that we all know. He does have the fabulous paint job in the end of Cars 3, but it would have looked a little different if he would have won the race in the end, and this is the diecast that represents it. So this is actually, I would call it, Dinoco Fabulous Lightning McQueen. Brand new factory custom, because in the alternate ending for Cars 3, which Pixar originally intended that to be the real ending of the movie before they scrapped it, Lightning McQueen would have actually finally gotten the Dinoco sponsorship in the end of the film, and I think that would have been really cool to see. Would have been a nice full circle moment for him, because obviously he gave it up in the first Cars movie, so it would have been really cool to see him basically like gifted it in Cars 3 in the very ending of the franchise, pretty much. Obviously, we ended up getting Cars on the Road, but at the time, we thought it was probably going to be the end. Because I think it was supposed to go. This is how it's supposed to go. I have it all on my channel, too, this old deleted scene. I think Sterling fired McQueen from Rusty's, hired Cruz, so she entered the race, and then Tex Dinoco came in before like the race started, I think, at the Florida 500, and told McQueen, "How would you like to come work for me?" Because obviously Cal Weather's still in retirement, so Tex needed a new racer still, right? So he hired McQueen, and McQueen accepted, and I believe he was actually the one that won the race in the end. I mean, if that's not a great ending to Cars 3, I don't know what is. I think that would have been so much better, would have wrapped up McQueen's storyline, and I don't know, it would have been cool, because that's something he's always wanted. He's always wanted to have the Dinoco sponsorship, but, he didn't want to take it away from the king in the end of Cars 1, and, once he learned some life lessons and some values, he realized that it wasn't the important thing. The important thing was just having fun racing with his friends and, his mentor, Doc Hudson. But, in Cars 3, Doc's gone, the King's gone, Cal Weathers is gone. It would have been the perfect opportunity to take the Dinoco sponsorship and just have fun with it, I think. So I don't know why he didn't. Anyways, this is the version of Lightning McQueen that would have came to be if he had taken that Dinoco sponsorship in the end of Cars 3, but, still donned that fabulous paint job. Unfortunately, he couldn't because of Cruz. Anyway, so let's zoom him in and take a closer look. At first glance, it's not really that much different from the normal Fabulous Lightning McQueen, but there are quite a few subtle differences. Obviously, the coloring is pretty much the same. Still looks like Doc Hudson's dark blue color. Then he's got the Dinoco logo on the hood, so that's pretty cool. No lightning bolts here on the fenders. He has Dinoco power instead. That looks really cool. Now, like moving forward, if McQueen would have ended up taking the Dinoco sponsorship, I don't know if he would have actually, stayed Dinoco blue. I'm not really sure. Because we all thought that McQueen was going to keep his fabulous paint job. That was like his new paint job now. But obviously he didn't in Cars on the Road, so I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have kept Dinoco blue either. Maybe he just would have raced for Dinoco and, still been red. Because it is implied that he's still racing in cars on the road, which doesn't really make sense because the story was like, it was kind of left open-handed, I guess, in the end of Cars 3. I guess he was still racing. He didn't really go into retirement, but it doesn't really make sense. Like why would Tex Dinoco want to sponsor McQueen when he's clearly not winning? I know he's his friend and everything, but still, it doesn't really make sense. Anyways, though, fabulous Lightning McQueen text on the side. All that looks to be pretty much the same, but we'll compare him to the original one in a second. Then he's got this cool little Piston Cup logo here. Cool little decal. No Lightyear text on the tires, though, so that's kind of upsetting. That's obviously a mistake. Nice red rims, though. 51 on the back, so that's a big difference. Usually, Fabulous McQueen has the number 95 all over him, but now he's like really attributing Doc and just going full on number 51 mode, so that's kind of cool. There's his Lightning McQueen signature up there. That looks to be the same. 51's on the top, on every single corner. Very cool. Nice way to pay homage to Doc. And then in the back, he's got his red window bars. That's kind of interesting. I don't know why he has that. Instead of blue, they probably should be blue, so that's kind of a mistake. And then nothing on the spoiler, so that's kind of interesting. Usually it would say Rusty's, or, it probably should say Dinoco, to be honest. That would have looked cool. Because obviously it's pretty much just a normal Fabulous McQueen, but instead of Rusty's decals, he has Dinoco decals. Rusty's is like a good sponsorship for McQueen, but the only reason he actually stayed with Rusty's so long is because of Rusty and Dusty, and Rusty and Dusty retired at the end of, or the beginning of Cars 3, so once again, it doesn't really make sense for him to stay with them, If Tex Dinoco is going to own them, I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense. I wish he would have went to Dinoco. It would have been a nice full circle moment, like I said. Anyways, though, nothing on the back except for these silver little, things to hold a spoiler on, but no taillights, which is kind of odd. And then no, text on the bottom there that would normally say for Doc Hudson, so kind of upsetting there. It probably should have that. Obviously, should have taillights for sure. At least they could have done that, but whatever. The factory customizers, usually I don't complain with these cars that they make, but this one, it's not my favorite, to be honest. The only reason I'm trying not to complain is because it's pretty much like a canceled car. So, it's not, but you know what I mean. It feels like one, so it's kind of cool. But Mattel even had this exact McQueen shown on the back of all the Cars 3 packaging. There was really no, Fabulous McQueen stock image at the time that actually looked like Fabulous McQueen with the Rusty's decals. I think pretty much all the stock images that we saw, let me show you a picture of what it looked like, by the way, all had this Dinoco logo on the front and, all the other decals that this one has right here. So, kind of interesting. Clearly, it was a last minute decision to make McQueen stick with Rusty's and, not win the race in the end. Because if they already had stock images made from the diecast, if Mattel did, you know what I mean? So, it doesn't really make sense why Pixar changed it so late in the game, but whatever. I don't know. It wasn't a great ending, so I can't talk about it enough because it just always upset me. Because Cars 3, honestly, is a really good film. I think the beginning opening scene is the best out of any of the Cars movies. It's just really builds itself up, and it tries to be more like the original Cars movie, and then, I don't know, it loses its momentum, kind of like once he gets to the Rusty's Racing Center. Then it kind of builds back up. Thunder Hollow and stuff like that. I like those scenes. Thomasville scenes are my favorite. But then, right when you get to Florida, the first part of the race is good, but then once Cruz comes in, takes over, it's done. I don't really like it anymore. But whatever. Here's the base, nice and gray. Almost looks like it's got a bit of a silver shine to it. And it says children's toy car on the bottom, made in China, so that's kind of weird. That's what the old McQueens used to say on the bottom, but they haven't recently. But anyways, here is the normal Fabulous Lightning McQueen, the official Chinese one that Mattel has released, obviously from Thailand and Vietnam too in the past, but they're all pretty much the same. Really the only difference, like I said, is a couple of the decals are changed. Well, the expression's a little different too, I guess. Yeah, the mouth mold is a little different. Definitely wider on this new one, the factory custom, and not as thick either, the teeth. That's kind of interesting. Kind of like it better, actually. Looks more accurate to how McQueen looks and smiles in the movie. Got a Dinoco decal instead of Rusty's. Paint's a little, maybe fainter, not as deep as this one. I don't like it as much, but not bad. Dinoco power instead of the lightning bolts. The rims, or the tires, I should say, not the best, but the rims also aren't that great. They're not as bright as the official one, but they're alright. They do the trick, but too bad they don't have the Lightyear text on them. Usually they do. Even on the gold McQueen factory custom I had, They did a really good job making gold Lightyear text, so I'm surprised they didn't on this one. Anyways, the side decals doesn't have the little piston cup decal on the official one, and for some reason the Fabulous and Lightning text is outlined in blue now instead of red. It's kind of weird. The whole text is almost like a bit shorter too, like it's not as tall anymore. And look at that, oh never mind. I was gonna say this is like sticking out from the bottom. It's not integrated into the body anymore, the exhaust, but I guess it is. Not as prominent though. 51 instead of 95. Same thing on the top. And yeah, this one does have the blue window bars. This one does not, so that's kind of upsetting. Nothing on the spoiler, whereas this one does have the Rusty's text. And then the back's the really bad part. This side's the same. Well, not the same, but you know what I mean. Like the same type of deal. 51 instead of 95. With the back, that's where it loses everything. Got no decals whatsoever. Very upsetting. Too bad. Would have been cool if they would have at least put the taillights on. Maybe the 4-Dock Hudson text too. But whatever. That's pretty much it for this guy. Pretty much is just a normal Fabulous Lightning McQueen. Not much to talk about. Here's the last McQueen factory custom I reviewed. If you want to check out that video, you can. I think the official name, I realize now that it's Hot Rod McQueen, not Flame Job McQueen like I was calling it. But that was just my custom name I made for it. Because we all know the factory customizers suck at naming cars. They almost always pick the weirdest names, but that's just how it goes. At least they make good quality cars most of the time. You know, and Mattel doesn't always make the best cars. I mean, this year they've been doing good, but in recent years, they haven't been picking the best releases to make. So it's nice to, just have another option sometimes with the factory customizers. Anyway, so I think that's going to have to be it for today. Let me know, do you like the ending of Cars 3? I certainly don't all that much. I think overall I'd probably give the film a 6.5 out of 10, which is not bad, but not that great either. And most of that score comes from the ending, so that definitely tells you something. I don't think it's a good way to finish off the franchise at all, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And what do you think of this Lightning McQueen factory custom that just came out just a few weeks ago? You can get it on eBay or AliExpress very cheaply. I like it a lot, but the quality control on it is not the best. But it's the decals, the lack of decals, that really hurts this factory custom. So definitely probably the worst one I've reviewed so far, but still pretty cool. I'm still glad I got it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on the Cars Garage.